Hi, this is Tom Jacobs. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, psychic medium, and channel. Find me on the web at TomJacobs.com. The title of this video is Living in the Present Tense. And I want to talk about this approach that I use. That, if you're watching these videos and you saw the Mayan calendar videos, there's a series of 8 thus far, then you've gotten some exposure to this approach that I have for working with people on adjusting to the evolution of consciousness and releasing the past and integrating past lives. But I want to go into detail today in this video. And what happened is in early 2008, I sat down to ask the Ascended Master that I work with, Jehudi, aka Thoth or Toth, and Saint Germain and Merlin. I sat down to ask what will happen in 2012. And I was having a bunch of information come at me from different sides about predictions and just people relaying things grounded and founded and unfounded and ungrounded about what the Mayans had predicted for this time and the kind of vast kinds of changes that we may be undergoing, when that ends. And so I said, what's going on in 2012? And this Ascended Master, in his face as Saint Germain, he is the keeper of the violet flame of forgiveness. So he seeks to encourage us to embody compassion, to forgive ourselves, and to use the violet flame of forgiveness to just wash away all pain and open up to love, open ourselves up to be love, to be anchors for love in our bodies now. So he started telling me to help people heal their Chiron issues. And Chiron is an archetype that's been around since 1977 in astrology, but the mythology has been part of the stories we've told each other since ancient times. And I said, oh, well, that's great. This is a great tool for understanding more about Chiron. And then that was like one meditation session. Now, another one, a week or 10 days later, I sat down and got in my space and I said, hey, if you're willing to help me out, great. I always appreciate your help. How can I understand better what's going to happen in 2012? And there was kind of a second chapter of teaching about Chiron. And this happened about 6 times over the course of a few weeks when I sat down to intentionally figure out what's going on with 2012. Or at least to learn about it from this Ascended Master. And after I had this teaching, I had till the end of it said, well, that's great, thank you very much, and made notes and kind of developed and started sharing with people these perspectives about Chiron, until I realized that what is actually happening in 2012 is the opportunity to understand ourselves more as energetic beings. This is, runs through everything I do, including these videos and the podcasts that I've done. But today I want to just give you this insight, because to live in the present tense means to surrender identities that have been shaped because of what has happened to us. In one of those videos, Mayan calendar videos, I talk about integrating past lives and how we're filled with the emotion that's been anchored in our fields from some other life that our soul is living on the Earth timeline. And I talked about getting grounded and being willing to feel everything we can feel and proceeding, living our lives anyway. So today I'm hoping to give you more vocabulary to go with that. Because when a past life part comes up, you're not in the present tense. You're feeling the emotional memory of something that happened to you in the past. When somebody says something to you that sounds like how your mom used to criticize you, you're not living in the present tense if that feeling takes over. So I say, what's going to happen in 2012? And this Ascended Master says, help people heal Chiron issues, and this is how. Well, what that ended up leading to was this perspective on living in the present tense that I wrote about. I wrote an original Natal Report, Astrology Natal Report, that treats this in your birth chart, and that basically addresses this issue or this opportunity of becoming more present by releasing wounding from the past through 4 archetypes. 2 are obviously about wounding in astrology circles, and that is Pluto, at least in evolutionary astrology, where we look at the soul's journey. That really, it comes through that. That's about wounding. Chiron, everybody pretty much agrees that's also about a wounding, that they have different, different takes on how that happens and why, and what to do about it. So Pluto and Chiron, and then also Lilith and Lucifer. And I added those in to this discussion, 4 different avenues into your psyche and your life about healing emotions from the past, about healing difficult experiences that you've been carrying. You could do it with any archetype. You could do a living in the present tense about moon, because that relates to how you've experienced nurturing and how you've experienced family connection and belonging and home and nesting and rootedness. We could do it with Saturn because it has to do with your relationship with authority figures, and you have been exposed to different ways of doing that, and you've taken on conditioning and have been experiencing that in your life. So we could do it with any archetypes. I chose Pluto because I focus on the soul, the journey of soul, and healing as deeply as possible so that we can do what our souls came here to do. Chiron, it's a no-brainer because it's about, wounding and healing. And then Lilith, because Lilith represents the instinctive wild, which belongs to the natural feminine, the uncontrollable energy within us that is instinctual and anchored in our lower chakras. But our experiences in patriarchy over the last 6,000 years really has led us to believe that we should demonize the natural wild. That we should demonize the natural, instinctive wild within us and in the world around us. And it affects how we treat the earth. It affects how we treat women, how we treat anything that shows up as feminine, including men who carry feminine energy, including bugs that quote-unquote invade our homes, including how we speak about weather. The storm hammered the coast. Hundreds are homeless. It's kind of how we personify nature into an evil force. That's about Lilith, a relationship with the divine feminine over the last 6,000 years. So that's why I included Lilith, because I kind of make it my business to do what I can to be a patriarchy buster. Some of you are aware that I have the planet Uranus in my first house, and so I kind of need to figure out ways of doing things originally, and also I need to be free, elbow room, and I just and that Uranus I'll share with you is square the 10th house Cancer South node. So for those of you who understand the prominence of the nodes in evolutionary astrology, basically Uranus square the nodes from the first says this guy really needs to individuate, and I find that after being 6,000 years of participating in creating patriarchy, including the Judeo-Christian religions, just participating and being a spokesperson for different things within what I consider now kind of modes of consciousness that don't really suit how humans actually are. So I kind of latch onto Lilith as a wonderful teaching to help people reconnect with their bodies, reconnect with instinct, and really learn to integrate the wisdom of the natural world as it exists in their bodies. It's kind of a headline for Lilith, or a subtitle for that whole thing. And then the 4th archetype covered in this work, in this Natal Report, is Lucifer. And whenever I say that word, I would say 1, maybe 2 people in like 500 will not flinch. So I'm saying it again, Lucifer. So basically taking this archetype and telling the story as it comes through the Hebrew tradition, where this archangel's name is Samael, S-A-M-A-E-L. Maybe not pronouncing it totally correctly, but that's how it kind of comes through to me. Lucifer means bringer of light, but we live in these cultures, we've been trained to believe that we shouldn't take up too much space, we should listen to the people above us. It's a very Piscean age patriarchal religion kind of thing. So Lucifer is about demonizing the rational mind. The mind is very good at doubting, and if we all doubted, if half of us doubted what we were instructed to do by religious teachers, it's the social, societal, governmental, and religious teachers of the last 6,000 years, society would have not have held together. So, this part of the masculine, this rational mind, has been demonized. You shouldn't ask questions of the people in charge. And if you do, something's wrong with you. So, in the original Hebrew story, which is represented in Midrashic texts, it's not in Genesis. It's not in, what we think of as the Bible, or, what the Torah, the Old Testament. It's not there. It's been more or less edited out, but you can find information about this out there. And what happened is, I realized I didn't tell you Lilith's story, but at the end of this video, I'll put up a little sign, a little frame that gives you some resources for Lilith from me for retelling the story, and the same for Lucifer. But basically, we're taught that to go against the will of God is evil, and yet, Samael actually breaks away from God with the intention of it being temporary, to honor his devotion to God. I tell the story completely in Living Myth, Exploring Archetypal Journeys, and then it's also in this Natal Report, Living in the Present Tense. But basically, we have been taught that we shouldn't ask difficult questions of the people in charge, and Lucifer is one of the ways that's been taught to us. So to be a Luciferian figure is to let your mind doubt what you're told. And as we cycle through this issue with the prevalence of mind, the power that we have given mind, and the voice of doubt can actually take over and keep us from bringing our light. So there's a remedy in Luciferian stories, which is your mind will always doubt what's happening and what you're choosing to do and what you're considering doing. And so get in your heart and figure out what your real motivation is. If what you're intending to do fits with the motivation within your heart, then your whole being is in alignment, and you should do it, and it will bring light. So there's this whole kind of story that we have to dig through to see how to actually honor the divine gift that each of us is. I mean, we come here to embody something and to offer a gift to the rest of us as a teaching. What I do here is very obviously teaching, but how you embody yourself, how you live your life, is a teaching for others. So all of us are living a kind of Luciferian story, learning how to shine, learning how to navigate doubt versus getting in our hearts and understanding what's happening. Okay, so these four archetypes, Pluto, Chiron, Lilith, and Lucifer, are covered in this Natal Report. They're just, like, as I said, four particular avenues into emotional healing, but you could do anything. But the route that I offer in this Natal Report is really special because we have to learn, especially with these latter two stories, to take back the archetypal experience from the myth, from the culture-shaping myth as it's been told to us.